Hi, this is Elena with Keller Williams Central, and I am a realtor in Dallas, Texas. You probably are watching this video because you saw one of my ads for rent-to-own properties or for properties with no credit, buy a property with no credit, and also called seller finance properties. I wanted to record this video today because in the last few days, I encountered a number of objections from people who were potentially interested in houses that clued me in that many people fundamentally misunderstand the process of rent to own and the process of seller financing. This is the objection that I always encounter or sometimes encounter. Somebody sees an advertisement for a rent-to-own property or for seller finance property. They contact me and they ask me, is this property available? I look it up and I said, well, yeah, maybe it's available, but okay, maybe the property went under a contract 2 days ago. And they tell me, well, and then, okay, I'll talk to you soon. And I will ask them, are you looking for rent-to-own or seller finance properties? So say yes. And I say, well, what's your qualification? Like, can you tell me more about yourself? Because I'm trying to understand what kind of properties to show you. What's your credit? If you're looking for rent-to-own, what's your credit score, etc. Or if it's seller financed with bad credit, then I'll ask, do you have the down payment and how much down payment you have? And then I often hear this response, well, when you have a property for me, then we will continue this conversation. So, and that clues me in that they don't understand the process from a standpoint of where the dog and where the tail is in the transaction. So in the rent to own and in seller financing, there are a few deals where a specific house offers rent-to-own or seller financing, but the house is already owned by an investor. And that investor then puts up whatever terms he wants, and that's the only house that that investor has. That is an unusual situation, or not unusual, but much less frequent situation. In 99.9% of the ads that I personally put in, I'm not sure about anybody else, but the ads where I personally put out, the house in the picture, the house in the ad, is completely irrelevant to your ability to buy. Why? Just because you see a house in the picture that you like does not mean that you will be qualified to buy that house. That's number one. Number two, in majority of my ads, the ad is not for a house, even though the house is the physical representation. The ad is for a concept that there is a possibility of a private loan. So seller financing, buying with no credit, and rent to own are private transactions. So you have non-private, you have transactions that are carried out by Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and FHA. Those are transactions that require a mortgage lender. Rent to own and seller financing are also transactions that also involve money. If there is a money in the equation, then there must be an investor. You get it? If there is money, there must be an investor. If there is an investor, then there is many houses, right? Investors don't care about houses. The big secret, they don't care about houses. It's almost like shoes, right? You have one shoes today, another shoes tomorrow. It's not about houses, it's about transactions for investors. For you, it's about the house because you think in terms of a house, they think in terms of a transaction. Why is it important? Because when they look at, when you look at the picture of the house that says seller financing or rent to own, instead of a house, see an investor. And that investor has money, and that investor already demonstrates a willingness to do a private loan. On what house? Investor doesn't care. That house, this house, any one of those houses. So the misconception is, first show me the house, and then we'll discuss my situation or my credentials or my down payment or whatever. This is wrong because you are turning the transactions upside down. First, you need to, first I, if I'm helping you, need to understand whether the rent to own or seller financing is actually a good deal for you in the first place. Because even though they sound easy, being approved for each one of them still requires some prerequisites. For seller financing, that means big down payment. Big. For rent to own, that requires certain credit score. Why? Different story. That's what they require. So when I'm asking you some questions, probing questions, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to understand, will you qualify for a program? Because if you don't qualify for this program, then I can potentially find a better program for you. So you latch on an ad that says rent to own or seller financing when it might not be the best loan for you given your situation. Number two, when I'm asking you those probing questions, I'm also trying to see, okay, so you qualify for this loan, but next we will need to see how much you would be approved for. So for the investor, he doesn't care about a house because a house is something that happens after everything else is done. For the investor, your transaction and your transaction being you, your ability to borrow and bring back or repay money. This is the key. So if I have a house for a rent to own or seller financing, disregard the house in the picture. Straight away, it evaporated. Not because it doesn't exist, but because the house is just one of hundreds. The hundreds of houses are out there, but which ones are you qualified for? When the investor looks at your transaction, he thinks in terms of your debt to income ratio, your income in the first place, your credibility, because it's a private transaction that is structured on, in large part, on trust. The investor needs to feel comfortable with you. So because I work with investors, I understand the criteria that they're going to be using to evaluate you. And if I understand that criteria, then I can save you the trouble of showing you 10 houses for which you're not going to be qualified for. because I already know that you won't fit that program. Or if you will fit that program, you'll qualify for a different amount. So the newbie in the process starts with a house and then goes for a loan. The true transaction starts with a loan and then figuring out which house would fit that loan. For example, let's just say person A wants a rent to own. The investor, and let's just say that we have a picture of a house that costs $257 in Fort Worth, right? Both people want that, both people respond to that ad. And one of them says that they have a 560 credit score and they have $3,000 down payment. So I can advise them that rent to own is going to potentially work for them, but they would probably need to shrink their expectations of a house, because with $3,000 down payment, they're not going to get $257 loan, or not loan, but a approved for a house. Another person contacts me, so I tell them that even though they want to see the houses in 250 category, chances are that they're not going to be approved for that. And I recommend that first they go to DV or Home Partners America, put in their information, see how much they're actually approved for, and then go look at the houses. Because you don't want to look at the houses that are in the wrong price category. It's almost like you not knowing how much money you want and going shopping for a car, or how much money you're approved for and then going shopping for a car. Should you shop for Porsche? Should you shop for BMW or Cadillac? Do you want maybe Tesla? You want everything, but how much will be approved for, right? So start with working with me to understand how much you will be approved for under that program. And once you have that information, then reverse engineer the answer to see what kind of houses will fit into the amount that you are approved for. So for example, a second person comes to me and also on the same rent to own house, and I ask them, how much money do you have for down payment? And they say, well, I have possibly $25, $37. Well, then I tell them that you will probably qualify for this purchase, but you have potentially 250 is not your limit. You can buy a bigger house if you want to. If you don't want to, don't. But don't box yourself in with the picture of a house and the definition of a house, because your circumstances, your down payment, your cash flow, a lot of things will affect the way that the investor sees you. And then once the investor tells you how much you're qualified for, that is the beginning of your process of going shopping then with that number. And that's about it. I might have done a few circles, maybe I repeat myself a few times, but it's very important. I see this happening a lot with first-time buyers, whether they're buyers through rent-to-own, first-time buyers through seller financing, first-time buyers through traditional financing with FHA. They all say, can we go see the houses? And I say, we can, but it's not going to do you any good, because the houses we see today will be gone before the end of the week, and you still didn't get approved for, you don't have an approval yet. You don't have an approval from a bank, and you don't have the number from a bank that says maximum allowable loan. And until we have the maximum allowable loan information, going shopping for a house is the same as, not knowing how much money you have in your pocket and going shopping for a car. You can try to test drive Tesla all day long. Doesn't mean that you're going to get it, because you're only approved for sharing, for example, right? So knowing how much money you have to play with is step one. Then having that, playing with the properties available is step two. Then closing on the deal and actually bringing money to the table is step three, but we're not going to go there. So my name is Elena Garrett. I post a ton of seller financing, bad credit, no social security number, self-employed. So that's seller financing. Rent to own is more for people who are who need a little bit of time to bring their credit up to 580. But anyhow, I have a lot of those ads, and if you need help on that topic, just reach out to me. I'm going to put my information below, and I will have more videos coming out on the topic of rent to own and seller financing. Stay tuned. Good luck with everything. Oh, this is January 2nd, 2001. We survived 2020. That's official. Just FYI. Anyhow, see you in 2021. I'm sure that if we work together in 2021, you're going to buy your own house. See you soon.